Charlie is a 12-year-old boy. He's our son. He has autism as a diagnosis. He has a secondary diagnosis of apraxia, which is a speech disorder. He's presently in a special day class at Bridgeport Elementary School for mild to severe autistic individuals.
For 3 decades, thousands of stories were given life in our print room before being sent to your home. Each week, an individual walks into this room to give life to an incredible, one-of-a-kind story. These aren't your local politicians or well-known celebrities. They are everyday people, much like yourself, eager to share a piece of their lives with you.
Our other son is 7 years old, and his name is Ben. He's a typically developing child. He is loving, he's wonderful with Charlie. Just an active boy, he loves sports and does everything that a boy would do. Did you do it?
It's actually common in stroke patients, but it's basically a situation where a person is trying to make certain sounds or words and they're just having great difficulty. They believe they're making the actual sound or the speech sound, which obviously leads to a great deal of frustration because he believes he's actually saying the word correctly, and it really takes some practice as well as from the listener understanding what he's actually saying. Ever since we received his diagnosis when he was age 2, we instantly jumped into it. That's just our personality. So from that moment, we immediately started getting him speech therapy as well as early intervention therapy from an organization called Regional Center. And we just haven't stopped since. And so Charlie gets therapy 7 days a week. It's different types of therapy, but he receives pretty much as much speech therapy as we've possibly been able to get him. And he's made tremendous strides, tremendously. At age 2, he had no speech. He had no precursors to speech. There was no babbling. There was nothing leading up to that. And from that point to where he is now, he's speaking sentences. We're trying to get him to go longer and longer as much as we can. And from where he's come to where he is now has been a huge improvement, but we have a ways to go. And we understand that. And it's a long road, but we understand that.
We went to get a speech evaluation because at 2 he wasn't talking, and the doctor, didn't seem overly concerned, but said, "Let's go send you for a speech evaluation." And that within the first hour of observing Charlie, the comment said to us was, "Do you know the movie Rain Man?" And as parents, not something you want to hear.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah. We were told, he's in the bottom 1 percentile, and that's a hard thing to hear when no one had said the word autism to us up until that point.
It was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I mean, you go from anytime you have a child, you want them to be the valedictorian of the school, and that shifts to just wanting him to go to the neighborhood school. It just changed. It changed everything. It just changed our focus. But that being said, we go on like any parent would.
Ultimately, we want him to be happy. And I think our ultimate goal, too, is for him to be as independent as possible. Like Rob was saying, your goals kind of change, so our goals for Charlie are different than maybe our goals for Ben. But independence is a big thing with children with autism, and right now we're not there.
And so we don't know exactly where he's going to be 10 years from now. We don't know where he's going to be 5 years from now. And quite frankly, that's because 10 years ago, I don't think we knew that we'd be here 10 years now. We came into contact with another family who had a service dog, and Charlie just loved it. He couldn't get enough. And it had been like that on enough occasions in enough surrounding places that we basically said, you know what, we should look into this. We spoke to the family, and they said they went through a company called 4 Paws for Ability, and this company actually trains autism assistance dogs.
Charlie has had a history with seizures in the past, so we've had procedures in the hospital. A lot of people have difficulties with some of those things, but what's really neat about the service dogs is they're allowed to be in there with the children and provide that comfort that even a parent can't always provide for their child in those scarier environments. So that was a huge benefit of just a regular dog versus a service dog who's allowed to go into these procedures, which are really hard on children.
What they do is they have you provide hours and hours of videos from difficult times. So when he has a meltdown, we're going to video that and we're going to send it to him, and they're going to be able to help train dogs to specifically help in those specific instances, so that in all of those instances, if there are any difficulties, this dog is specially trained to help out. And so the ability to have something like that, and for a dog that can just assist him and just provide him that extra bit of love would just be amazing. We celebrate different types of milestones. So as we've seen with our younger son, and as we see with other typical children, they pick up on stuff so quickly and they learn so quickly. And some people in the autism community just don't. And so sometimes it's harder, and our son falls into that category. And so he works so hard and he tries so hard, and it is more trying for him to learn certain things than it ever was for our younger son. And so we celebrate differently, and our focus changes, and quite frankly, it gives us perspective. And so we try not to sweat the small stuff, and Charlie's taught us that. And instead, we learn to just kind of approach things differently, and it's kind of changes the mindset in a good way. In a good way, he's taught us a lot.